Hey guys, welcome to episode 14 of QuaranTUBE with Dr. Z. We are winding down to the last few episodes of QuaranTUBE because guess what? School is almost out. I know it feels kind of funky because we're not in the classroom, so it's not as big of a celebration because it's not like you can run out my door throwing all your notebooks and everything in the air, but I hope you're still looking forward to summer break and you're still looking forward to culmination. I know a lot of you guys saw the dojo message from Mr. Segovia, so yeah, we're almost there, and so I just wanted to do a few more math lessons so that this interleaved math, this IM interleaved math, will stick with you as you go on to 7th grade. And this is one that you're going to need for literally every other math class you take from here on out. Okay, so we are going to be going over PEMDAS, the order of operations. Okay, hopefully this looks familiar, first from 5th grade. I think in 4th grade you're introduced to it, and then 5th grade it was reinforced. 6th grade it was reviewed once again, except this time you did PEMDAS with integers, positive and negative numbers. Today's lesson is only going to go over PEMDAS with whole numbers, and then our next lesson is going to go over integers, which means the assignment for next QuaranTUBE episode is going to include PEMDAS with integers, but today is just going to be whole numbers. All right? Okay, so here we go. So as we know, PEMDAS is an acronym, and each letter stands for something. Here we see that P represents parentheses, E represents exponents. Notice I put an X as any given number for the variable, and this 2 represents the exponent, but 2 can always change and X can always change. So I could have put X to the power of Y just to show you that both variables can always change, but I chose to use 2 because you guys are all really used to seeing this small number, this exponent 2, that we also call it squared. M stands for multiplication. Here I put different variations of how multiplication can be shown in an order of operations equation. So here I put the standard X for multiplication. Here's a dot. Sometimes in PEMDAS you will see numbers that are in parentheses right next to each other without any sort of other operation inside. So this is A parentheses B. And then lastly, you're going to see 2 numbers side by side with nothing in between, and that's also going to indicate multiplication as well. A times B, or any number times any other number. Okay, division, I gave 2 representations of division, standard division sign, and then also division can be represented as a fraction as well. Okay, so this doesn't mean every time you see a fraction you're going to divide, but it's just to know that division is an option if you do see numbers represented this way. Next, we're going to have addition, A for addition, and lastly, S for subtraction. Something that I want to note before we move on is that these 2 right here, parentheses and exponent, they are firmly in this order. Like it always will be parentheses and exponent. Whereas when we move down to M, D, A, and S, they could be switched depending on their order. So if you see a multiplication sign before a division sign, that's the order you're going to do it. However, if you see a division sign before a multiplication sign, you don't have to do multiplication first and then division just because PEMDAS says so. These, again, can be interchangeable. So if in a PEMDAS equation you see a division sign before multiplication, which one do you do first? You do the division first, even though here in this acronym, multiplication comes before division. Same with addition and subtraction. When you see the equation written horizontally and you see the addition sign come before subtraction, that's the order you do it in. If you see the subtraction sign come before the addition sign, you're going to do that in that order. Okay, I think that's something that stumps us all the time. It stumps me all the time as well. So that's something to make sure we keep in mind. Feel free to draw these arrows on your acronym as well. So for today's video, I wanted to go over 3 order of operations equations with you guys. And then your assignment will be an attached worksheet to your Schoology post. Okay, so these 3 we're going to do together, but I'm going to have you write down the equations, and I want to give you a little bit of time to do each one, or at least start each one on your own. So after I show you the equation, you're going to write it down, and then you're going to start working on it, and in about 30 seconds, I'm going to jump in. So I'd like for you to get started during that silent time, so that when I start talking, you'll have already started and possibly be done already. And then you can just check your work as I'm talking through it. All right, here we go. Number one. These are parentheses. 3 squared plus 5 times 2, end parentheses, minus 12. I'm going to read it one more time. Parentheses 3 squared plus 5 times 2, end parentheses, minus 12. So we're going to start our 30 seconds for you to get started. And in 30 seconds, I'm going to review the work. So hopefully by then you'll be able to check your work alongside me. All right, that was about 30 seconds. It was a little bit longer because the unicorn was there and it wouldn't let me do my work. Anyway, here we go. Okay, so here we see our parentheses, which means we know that the work that we do first has to be there. And luckily, the majority of the work is within the parentheses. So we have the parentheses, and we're going to look at the exponent. So we have 3 squared, which is the same as 3 times 3. Remember that 3 squared doesn't mean 3 times 2. The exponent always tells the whole number, in this case, how many times to multiply itself, right? So 3 multiplied by itself is 3 times 3, and that's going to equal 9. Okay, so I'm going to write a 9 under here. 9. And then we see plus 5 times 2. According to our acronym, PEMDAS, multiplication comes before addition. So it's not actually going to be 9 plus 5. It's actually going to be 5 times 2, and that's going to be 10. And the operation that remains is this plus sign, so I'm going to write that here. Okay, so I've done all the work in the parentheses, and now I'm going to subtract the 12 from that work. So if we work in order, it's going to look like this. 9 plus 10 minus 12. 9 plus 10 is 19, and if you subtract 12, that's going to be 7. I'm wondering if you guys are stumped right here, right? After the exponent, I'm wondering if some of you added 5 first, so 9 plus 5, and then you multiplied it by 2. The answer would be wildly different, right? 9 plus 5 is 14, times 2 is 28. And so I made this equation on purpose to see if some of you would do that. Hopefully not too many of you, but if you did, that's all right, because we went over it and hopefully it makes sense now. All right, here's number 2. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. We'll see if the unicorn reappears. Who knows? I don't know what they do. All right, number 2 says 4 parentheses 6 divided by 2 plus 9. Again, 4 parentheses 6 divided by 2 plus 9. All right, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. All right, I don't know who that was, but here we go. We see 4 parentheses 6, and so notice 4 parentheses 6 is just another way to say 4 times 6. So 4 parentheses 6, 4 times 6 is going to be 24. And then I'm just going to rewrite the equation. Divided by 2 plus 9. We're going to do these this order of operations in this order from here on out. 24 divided by 2 is 12, plus 9 is 21. I hope that one came a little bit easier, and this is going to be the third and final practice before you are given your worksheet via Schoology. Number 3 says 1/3 to the third power, 1/3 to the third power times 7 plus 1/3. 30 seconds from here. All right, let's go over the last one. If we see 1/3 to the third power, again, we know that this does not mean 1/3 times 3. It means 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3. When we look at how we do multiplication of fractions. We know that we're going to multiply across. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. Okay, so this 1/27th is this answer right here. Okay, so I'm gonna write 1/27 times 7, but we can convert that to 7 wholes over 1. Okay, and I'm gonna add 1/3 after that. I am actually gonna put in my own parentheses. Okay, here, if we again look at the rules of multiplication of fractions, we're gonna just multiply across. That's gonna give us 7/27, and then I'm gonna add that 1/3. Now remember, in addition of fractions, you have to look for the common denominator. In this case, the common denominator is 27, right? So I'm gonna write an equal sign because I'm just rewriting the equation 7/27 plus, and if 27 is my common denominator, 3 times what number comes to 27? Right, that's 9. So that's how I got this number. So what you do to the bottom, you do to the top, right? So that means our new numerator is going to be 9, 1 times 9. We're going to add, we can continuously put equal sign because these are all just different ways of writing the same equation. 7 plus 9 is what? 16 over 27. That is our final answer for number 3. That one had a lot of steps. We did exponents as well as multiplication of fractions as well as addition of fractions with unlike denominators. Hopefully that served as a really good review for those 3 things. Look on the Schoology post for your assignment that is linked to today's video. If you have any questions, comment on the post. Otherwise, you can come to Dojo as well and post your questions there because I check both. And yeah, I'm pretty sure most of you are not going to have any trouble doing this at all, so I'm not worried about that at all. All right, this was episode 14 of QuaranTUBE with Dr. Z. I will talk to you all soon. Bye.